The flames were climbing higher, devouring the crumpled police cruiser inch by inch. Inside, a wounded officer lay unconscious, blood streaming down his face, his uniform soaked crimson. He had minutes to live, maybe less. Then through the smoke and fire, two figures emerged, a 7-year-old girl in an oversized denim jacket and a scarred German shepherd with half an ear missing. What this child did in the next 60 seconds would make hardened FBI agents weep. But what happened 3 days later? That's when the real nightmare began. Before we continue, subscribe to our channel and follow this incredible story to the very end. Comment below. Where are you watching from tonight? Let's see how far this story travels. The explosion came first. Lily Dawson felt it before she heard it, a deep shudder through the earth that made her stumble on the dirt path. Bo froze beside her, every muscle locked, his torn ear flattening against his skull. "Bo," Lily whispered. The dog's growl started low rumbling from somewhere deep in his chest. His amber eyes fixed on the trees ahead where black smoke was beginning to curl above the pines. Lily's heart hammered. She was supposed to be home by now. Grandma Ellie would be worried. The shortcut through Miller's Ridge always saved 20 minutes, but Grandma had warned her 100 times. "That road ain't safe, baby girl. Bad things happen on that road." Bo barked once, sharp, urgent. Then he ran. "Bo, no! Wait!" Lily chased after him, her small legs pumping, her father's old jacket flapping behind her. The smoke grew thicker with every step. Her eyes stung. Her lungs burned. But she couldn't stop. Bo was all she had left of her daddy, and she wasn't losing him too. She burst through the tree line and stopped dead. A police car had smashed nose first into the ravine below the road. The hood was crumpled like paper wrapped around a massive boulder. Flames licked at the engine, spreading fast, hungry. Orange light danced across the twisted metal. Inside the car, a man wasn't moving. Lily's breath caught in her throat. She could see him through the cracked windshield, slumped over the steering wheel, blood covering half his face, his uniform shirt dark and wet. "Oh no," she breathed. "Oh no, oh no, oh no." Bo was already scrambling down the embankment, claws scraping against rock and loose dirt. He reached the car and barked furiously, circling, pawing at the driver's door. Lily's legs wouldn't move. Her whole body was shaking. She was 7 years old. She didn't know how to help a dying man. She didn't know anything except that she was scared. So scared she thought she might throw up. Then she heard her daddy's voice in her head, clear as morning. "Fear ain't a stop sign, Lilybug. It's just your body asking what to do next. So you breathe, and then you move." Lily breathed. And then she moved. Chug. The embankment was steeper than it looked. Lily slid most of the way down rocks, scraping her palms, her knee catching on a root. She landed hard beside the burning car, close enough to feel the heat pressing against her skin like a living thing. Bo was scratching at the door, whining desperately. "I'm trying." Lily grabbed the handle and pulled. It didn't budge. She pulled again, harder, throwing her whole weight backward. Nothing. The flames crept higher. Something inside the engine popped, sending sparks showering into the air. "Come on, come on, come on!" She looked around frantically. There, a rock bigger than her fist. She grabbed it with both hands, raised it over her head, and swung at the window with everything she had. The glass shattered. Pain shot through her palm. She looked down and saw blood welling from a cut across her skin, bright red against the firelight. She didn't care. She couldn't care. Not now. Lily reached through the broken window glass, crunching under her arms, and touched the man's shoulder. He was warm. That was good. Warm meant alive. Mister, please wake up. Please, you gotta wake up." Nothing. His head stayed against the steering wheel, his breathing shallow and ragged. Lily found the seatbelt and pressed the release. It clicked open. She grabbed his arm and pulled. He was so heavy, so impossibly heavy. It was like trying to move a mountain. "Bo, help me. Help." The dog jumped up, front paws on the doorframe, teeth sinking into the fabric of the man's jacket. Together they pulled Lily, straining until her arms screamed, Bo growling with effort. The man's body shifted, just an inch, then another. "Don't stop," Lily gasped. "Don't you stop, Bo. We almost got him." More flames. More heat. The air was becoming impossible to breathe. Then suddenly the man's eyes flew open. Lily screamed. He looked at her. Really looked at her with eyes that were gray and wild and full of pain. His mouth moved, but no sound came out at first. Then barely a whisper. Run. What? His hand grabbed her wrist with surprising strength. They're coming back. Run. Leave me. I'm not leaving you. You don't understand. His voice cracked. They'll kill you too. The rest was lost in a fit of coughing. Blood flecked his lips. Lily didn't run. Instead, she pulled harder. Bo, now! With one final heave, the man tumbled through the window and landed on the ground beside her. Lily grabbed his collar and dragged him backward away from the car, her boots slipping on the gravel. 10 feet, 20, 30. The fuel tank exploded. The force of it threw Lily off her feet. She landed on her back, the wind knocked out of her ears ringing. Heat washed over her like a wave. When she opened her eyes, Bo was standing over her, licking her face. I'm okay, she coughed. I'm okay, boy. She sat up and looked at the man. He was unconscious again, but his chest was moving. Slow, steady, alive. Lily crawled over to him and pressed her small hand against the wound on his shoulder. The blood was warm and sticky. It wouldn't stop flowing. I need help, she said to no one. I need Grandma. She'll know what to do. She looked at Bo. Stay with him, you hear me? Don't you leave him for nothing. The dog whimpered, then lay down beside the man, resting his head on the officer's chest. Lily stood up. Her legs were shaking. Her hand was bleeding. Her whole body ached, but she started running anyway. The forest was dark now. The sun had disappeared behind the mountains, leaving only shadows and the distant orange glow of the burning car. Lily ran until her lungs felt like they would burst. Then she ran some more. She was almost to the main road when she heard the rumble of an engine coming fast. Headlights cut through the trees. A truck, black mud splattered, barreled around the curve ahead. Lily dove off the path and pressed herself against a tree, making herself as small as possible. The truck slowed. Stopped. 2 men got out. Lily could see them in the glow of the headlights. The first was tall and thick, with a shaved head and hands like sledgehammers. The second was leaner, meaner, with a face like a hatchet and eyes that seemed to catch the light wrong. You sure this is where the signal stopped? The hatchet-faced one asked. Positive. Cooper's tracker went dead right around here. Then where the hell is he? Lily's blood turned to ice. Cooper. The name on the officer's badge had been Cooper. Marcus Cooper. These men were looking for him, and they didn't sound like they wanted to help. The big one pulled something from his belt. A gun. Boone said no witnesses. Whatever happened here, we clean it up. All of it. Lily stopped breathing. Spread out, the hatchet-faced one ordered. He couldn't have gotten far. Not with that bullet in him. They'd shot him. These men had shot the officer and left him to die, and now they were going to finish the job. Lily's hands trembled as she reached into her jacket pocket. Her fingers closed around something smooth and worn, the little wooden compass her grandpa had carved before he died. She'd kept it with her every day since. Show me the way, she whispered. Please, Grandpa, show me the way. The men's footsteps crunched through the underbrush, getting closer. Lily waited until they passed her tree. Then, silent as a shadow, she slipped away into the darkness. Eleanor Dawson was standing on the front porch when she heard the screen door bang open. Her granddaughter burst through, wild-eyed and gasping, blood streaking her hands and jacket. Grandma! Ellie moved faster than she had in 20 years. She caught Lily just as the child's legs gave out. Lily, Lily, baby, what happened? Where are you hurt? Not me, Lily gasped. A man. A policeman. He's dying, Grandma. They shot him and left him, and his car caught fire, and I pulled him out, but he's bleeding so bad, and there's men coming to kill him, and Bo's with him, but we have to go. Now! Grandma, we have to go! Ellie's mind raced. 40 years as an ER nurse had taught her to think clearly in crisis. She processed the information in seconds. Wounded, officer gunshot, bleeding out hostiles in pursuit. Where? She demanded. Miller's Ridge. The shortcut. By the big boulder. Ellie was already moving. She grabbed her medical kit from the closet, the one she'd kept stocked for 15 years just in case, and her husband's old hunting rifle from above the fireplace. "Grandma, there's more." Ellie turned. Lily was pulling crumpled papers from inside her jacket. "He had these, in a box in his car. I took them before the fire got him." Ellie took the papers. Even in the dim light of the cabin, she could see what they were shipping. Manifests, financial records, names and dates and amounts that made her stomach drop. One name appeared over and over again. Sheriff Randall Boone. "Dear God," Ellie breathed. "Grandma, what is it?" Ellie looked at her granddaughter, 7 years old, covered in blood and dirt, braver than anyone she'd ever known, and made a decision. "We're going to save that man," she said. "And then we're going to burn these bastards to the ground." The old Chevy pickup bounced down the dirt road, headlights cutting through the darkness. Ellie drove like a woman possessed, one hand on the wheel, the other clutching her rifle. Lily sat beside her, clutching the papers to her chest. "How did you know to take these?" Ellie asked. "I don't know. I just felt like they mattered. Like they were the reason he was running." Ellie's jaw tightened. Smart girl. Too smart for her own good sometimes. "Listen to me, Lily. What we're about to do is dangerous. More dangerous than anything you can imagine. The men who shot that officer, they work for someone powerful. Someone who owns half this county. If they find out we helped him, I don't care." Ellie glanced at her granddaughter. "Lily, Daddy always said you do the right thing even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. That man needed help. I helped him, and I'm not going to stop just because some bad guys are scary." For a moment, Ellie saw her son in Lily's eyes, the same stubborn courage, the same unshakable moral compass. It made her heart ache and swell at the same time. "Your daddy would be so proud of you," she said softly. "I know." Lily's voice was small but steady. "That's why I did it." They reached Miller's Ridge 10 minutes later. Ellie killed the headlights and coasted to a stop, then grabbed her medical kit and rifle. "Stay close to me," she whispered. "And if I tell you to run, you run. No arguments." Lily nodded. They moved through the trees, guided by the faint orange glow still flickering from the wreckage below. Ellie's heart pounded. She was 68 years old, her knees ached, and she hadn't fired a gun in over a decade. But her hands were steady. They always had been. Bo's bark cut through the silence, a relieved, joyful sound. "There," Lily pointed. The German shepherd was exactly where she'd left him, lying beside the wounded officer. When he saw Lily, his tail began to wag frantically. "Good boy," Lily whispered, dropping to her knees beside him. Good boy." Ellie knelt beside the officer. Even in the dim light, she could see how bad it was. The gunshot wound in his shoulder had torn through muscle and probably nicked an artery. Blood loss was severe. His skin was gray, his pulse thready. "He needs a hospital," she murmured. "We can't," Lily said. "The men, they said someone named Boone sent them. You said Boone owns the county. Does he own the hospital too?" Ellie's hands hesitated over the wound. She thought of Sheriff Randall Boone, the man who'd shaken her hand at her husband's funeral, who'd brought casseroles when her son died in the mine collapse. The man everyone in Copper Ridge trusted. The man whose name was on those papers. "Yes," she said quietly. "He probably does." "Then we can't take him there. They'll finish what they started." Ellie looked at her granddaughter, 7 years old, covered in blood, speaking like a general planning a battle. "There's another place," Ellie said slowly. "Your grandpa's hunting cabin, up on Hollow Ridge. Nobody knows about it anymore. Nobody's been there in years." "How far?" 3 miles through the woods." Lily looked at the unconscious officer, easily 200 pounds of dead weight, then at her tiny grandmother. "We'll need help." Ellie was about to respond when the officer's eyes fluttered open. He stared at them for a moment, confused, disoriented. Then his gaze focused on Lily. "You," he breathed. "You came back. I told you I wasn't leaving you." Something shifted in his expression, a crack in the armor, a glimpse of the man beneath the badge. "You should have. I'm not worth—" "Yes, you are." Lily's voice was fierce. "Everyone's worth saving. My daddy taught me that." The officer, Marcus Cooper, according to his badge, stared at her for a long moment. Then, incredibly, he tried to sit up. "Easy," Ellie commanded, pressing him back down. "You've lost a lot of blood. That bullet needs to come out." "There's no time." Marcus gripped Ellie's arm with surprising strength. "Boone's men, they're looking for me. They'll find the wreck. They'll track us. Let me worry about that." "You don't understand." His voice was desperate now. "Boone isn't just corrupt. He's trafficking. Drugs, weapons, and kids, children, through the old mines. I have proof." "We have it," Lily interrupted, patting her jacket. "I saved the papers." Marcus's eyes widened. How did you—" "She's her father's daughter," Ellie said simply. "Now save your strength. We need to move, and you're going to have to help us help you." They fashioned a stretcher from branches in Ellie's jacket. It was rough, uncomfortable, but it would hold. Marcus gritted his teeth as they lifted him onto it, sweat pouring down his face despite the cool night air. "Wait," he gasped. "My gun." "They took it after they shot me. But there's a backup ankle holster." Lily knelt and found it a small pistol still secured in its holster. She hesitated, then pulled it free and handed it to her grandmother. Ellie checked the clip. 5 rounds. "Better than nothing," she muttered. They began to move. The woods at night were a maze of shadows and sounds. Every snapping twig made Lily's heart jump. Every rustling branch seemed to hide a threat. Bo walked ahead, ears swiveling, nose twitching. He would stop occasionally, head cocked, listening. Then he would continue leading them deeper into the forest. "Smart dog," Marcus murmured from the stretcher. "The smartest," Lily said. "My daddy found him at the shelter 3 years ago. Nobody wanted him because of his ear, but Daddy said that just meant he was a fighter." "Your father sounds like a good man." Lily was quiet for a moment. "He was. He died in the mine collapse 2 years ago." Marcus's jaw tightened. "The Jefferson mine collapse. You know about it." "I know it wasn't an accident." Marcus's voice was bitter. "Boone covered it up. The mine's inspection records were falsified. 17 men died because Boone was taking payoffs to look the other way." Lily stopped walking. Ellie stopped too, her face pale in the moonlight. "My son," Ellie said slowly, "was one of those 17 men." The silence that followed was heavy enough to crush them all. "I'm sorry," Marcus whispered. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I only found out about the connection last month. It's all in those papers. The mine, the trafficking, everything. It all leads back to Boone." Lily's hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "Then we're not just saving you. We're getting justice. For all of them. For my daddy." She picked up her end of the stretcher again. "Keep moving," she said. "We've got a long way to go." An hour later, they reached the cabin. It was small, weathered, nearly invisible among the trees. The roof sagged. The windows were dark, and the porch steps groaned under their weight. But it was shelter. It was hidden. For tonight, it was enough. Ellie lit an old kerosene lamp, while Lily made Marcus as comfortable as possible on the dusty cot in the corner. Bo stationed himself at the door, nose pressed to the crack beneath it, standing guard. "I need to extract that bullet," Ellie said, laying out her supplies. "It's going to hurt." "I've had worse," Marcus said, but his voice was weak. "No, you haven't." Lily held his hand. Lily took Marcus's hand in both of hers. His fingers were ice cold. "Hey," she said softly. "You remember what you told me at the car when you woke up?" Marcus's eyes found hers. "I told you to run." "Before that, you said they're coming back. You said they'd kill me too." She squeezed his hand. "You were trying to protect me, even when you were dying. That means you're good. That means you're worth saving." Marcus's throat worked. For a moment, he couldn't speak. "Hold on tight," Ellie said. "This is going to be bad." She went to work. Marcus's body arched off the cot. A strangled cry tore from his throat. Lily held on with all her strength, talking to him the whole time about Bo, about her drawings, about the time her daddy took her fishing, and she caught a boot instead of a trout. "Almost there," Ellie murmured. "Just a little more." The bullet came free with a wet sucking sound. Marcus collapsed back onto the cot, unconscious. Ellie worked quickly, cleaning the wound, packing it, wrapping it tight. When she finished, her hands were covered in blood and her face was gray with exhaustion. "Will he make it?" Lily asked. Ellie looked at her granddaughter, 7 years old, holding a stranger's hand through surgery, steady as a rock. "If he makes it through the night," she said, "he'll have a chance." Lily nodded. Then she crawled onto the cot beside Marcus, curled up against his good side, and closed her eyes. "I'll stay with him," she murmured, "in case he wakes up scared." Ellie's heart cracked wide open. She draped a blanket over them both, then took up position by the window rifle across her lap. Outside, the forest was silent, but somewhere in the darkness, men with guns were searching, and they wouldn't stop until they found what they were looking for. 3 miles away, Deputy Wade Hicks stood at the edge of the wreckage, rage boiling in his chest. The car was destroyed, just a skeleton of twisted metal and ash, but there was no body inside. "Someone took him," he growled into his radio. "Cooper's gone, and there's blood trail heading into the woods." Sheriff Randall Boone's voice crackled back, calm as always. "Follow it. It's dark. We'll need dogs. Then get dogs. I don't care how you do it, Wade. Find Cooper. Find whoever helped him, and make sure none of them ever talk." Hicks smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "With pleasure, sir." He clicked off the radio and turned to his partner. "You hear that we're going hunting." They headed into the woods, following the trail of blood, like wolves tracking wounded prey. Back at the cabin, Lily's eyes snapped open. She didn't know what had woken her. A sound, maybe. A feeling. Beside her, Bo was on his feet. Hackles raised a low growl, rumbling in his throat. Lily sat up slowly. "Bo, what is it?" The dog's eyes were fixed on the window. Outside, somewhere in the darkness, a branch snapped. Lily's blood turned to ice. "Grandma," she whispered. Ellie was already awake, rifle raised, finger on the trigger. "Get behind me," she breathed, "and don't make a sound." They waited in the darkness, hearts pounding, breaths held. The footsteps grew closer, closer, closer. Then they stopped. A voice called out, female, young, uncertain. "Hello, is anyone in there? Please, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help." Ellie's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" A pause. Then, "My name is Ellen Marsh. I'm a deputy, and I know where Sheriff Boone's men are heading. You've got less than an hour before they find you." Lily looked at her grandmother. Ellie looked at the door. Trust was a dangerous thing in the dark, but sometimes dangerous was all you had. Ellie's finger hovered over the trigger. Every instinct she'd developed in 40 years of emergency medicine reading, patience sensing danger, knowing when something was wrong, screamed at her now. "How did you find us?" she demanded through the door. "I followed the blood trail," Ellen Marsh answered. "Same one Hicks is following, but I got here first because I know these woods. I grew up hunting them with my father." "That doesn't answer why." A pause, then softer. "Because there's a little girl in there. I saw the small footprints at the crash site, and I'm not going to let Hicks do to a child what he's done to others." Lily tugged at her grandmother's sleeve. "Grandma, she sounds scared." "Scared people do desperate things. So do brave ones." Ellie looked down at her granddaughter. 7 years old, dirt on her face, blood on her hands, and wisdom in her eyes that no child should have to carry. "If I open this door," Ellie called out, "and I see anything in your hands except air, I will shoot you. Do you understand?" "Yes, ma'am." Ellie nodded to Lily, who moved behind the cot where Marcus lay unconscious. Bo positioned himself in front of the child, hackles still raised. The door creaked open. Ellen Marsh stood in the moonlight with her hands raised high above her head. She was younger than Ellie expected, late 20s maybe, with short dark hair and eyes that held something Ellie recognized immediately: guilt. "Step inside, slowly." Ellen obeyed her gaze, sweeping the cabin, taking in the wounded officer, the little girl, the dog, the old woman with the rifle. "You're Eleanor Dawson," she said. "Your son was Thomas. He died in the Jefferson mine collapse." Ellie's grip tightened on the rifle. "Don't you dare speak his name." "I have to, because what happened to him, what happened to all 17 of those men, it wasn't an accident, and the man responsible is my boss." "We know," Lily said from behind the cot. We have the papers." Ellen's eyes widened. "You have the evidence, all of it. Enough." For a moment, Ellen looked like she might cry. Thank God. Thank God. I've been trying to get those files for 2 years." Cooper was supposed to deliver them to a federal contact in Nashville, but Boone found out. He ordered Hicks to intercept. "And you?" Ellie demanded. "Where were you when they were shooting a man and leaving him to burn?" Ellen flinched like she'd been slapped. "I didn't know. Not until it was already done. Boone keeps his inner circle small. Hicks a few others. The rest of us we suspected, but we didn't have proof. We were scared." "Scared?" Ellie repeated, her voice like ice. "Yes, scared, because the last deputy who asked too many questions disappeared 6 months ago. They found his car at the bottom of Briar's Gorge, called it an accident." Ellen's voice cracked. "His name was Danny. Danny Martinez. He was my friend." Lily stepped out from behind the cot. "Was he a good person?" Ellen looked at the child, really looked at her, and something in her expression shattered. "He was the best person I knew. He wanted to be a teacher someday. He used to read to kids at the library on weekends." "Then help us," Lily said simply. "Help us finish what he started." Ellie watched the deputy's face cycle through emotions: fear, shame, grief, and finally something that looked almost like hope. "Hicks has dogs," Ellen said. "Borrowed from the Whitfield County K-9 unit. He's maybe 40 minutes behind me, probably less. You can't outrun them carrying a wounded man." "Then what do you suggest?" Ellen pulled a folded map from her jacket pocket. "The old mining tunnels. There's an entrance half a mile north of here. The tunnels run under the mountain and come out near Highway 12 outside Boone's jurisdiction. It's the only way." Ellie shook her head. "Those tunnels have been closed for years. Cave-ins, bad air, flooded passages. It's suicide. Maybe, but staying here is certain death." A sound from the cot made them all turn. Marcus Cooper was awake, his gray eyes clouded with pain, but alert. "She's right," he rasped. "The tunnels. It's our only shot." "You're in no condition to—" "I don't have a choice." Marcus struggled to sit up, sweat beading on his forehead. "None of us do. Boone won't stop. He can't. Everything he's built, the trafficking, the payoffs, the bodies he's buried, it all comes down if I make it to Nashville." "Bodies." Lily's voice was small. Marcus's jaw tightened. He hadn't meant for her to hear that. "I'm sorry. You shouldn't have to know any of this." "I already know enough." Lily moved closer to the cot, her eyes never leaving his face. "I know you're good. I know they're bad. And I know my daddy would have done exactly what you're doing." Marcus stared at her for a long moment. "Your father was Thomas Dawson. You knew him." "No, but I've read his name 100 times in those files. He wrote letters to the state mining board, tried to warn them about the safety violations. Boone intercepted every single one." Ellie made a sound like someone had driven a knife into her chest. "My son tried to stop it," she whispered. "He tried to save those men." "He did more than try. He gathered evidence, photographs, documents, witness statements. Boone thought he destroyed it all, but Thomas was smart. He hid copies somewhere. I've been trying to find them for months." Lily reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out the small wooden compass. "Daddy gave me this before he died. He said it would always show me the way home." She turned it over in her hands. The bottom panel was slightly loose. "Lily," Ellie breathed. The little girl pressed the panel, and it popped open. Inside was a tiny folded piece of paper, yellow with age. Grandma, Lily said, her voice trembling, Daddy left us a map. The paper showed a hand-drawn diagram of tunnels, and at the center, a small X marked with 3 words, Thomas Dawson's Insurance. Ellen leaned closer. He hid the evidence in the mines, the same mines Boone uses for trafficking. That's why Boone's been so careful about those tunnels, Marcus said. He's been searching for years. He knew something was there, he just didn't know where. Lily clutched the compass to her chest. Daddy's been helping us this whole time. He knew someone would need this someday. Ellie pulled her granddaughter close, tears streaming down her weathered face. Oh, Thomas, my boy, my brave, brilliant boy. We have to move, Ellen said urgently. If that evidence is really in there, we need to get it before Boone does. And we need to get out before Hicks catches up. Marcus forced himself to his feet, gripping the cot for support. His face went white with pain, but he stayed standing. Can you walk? Ellie asked. I can move. That's enough. No, Lily grabbed his hand. I'll help you. Me and Bo. We got you out of the car. We can get you through a tunnel. Marcus looked down at her, this tiny child with her father's courage and her grandmother's steel, and felt something crack open in his chest that had been frozen for years. Okay, he said softly. Together. They gathered what little they had, the medical kit, the rifle, Ellen's service weapon, a flashlight, and the precious papers that had already cost so much. Bo took point as they slipped out of the cabin and into the night. Behind them, somewhere in the darkness, dogs began to howl. The half-mile to the tunnel entrance felt like 100. Marcus leaned heavily on Ellie, and Ellen, his breath coming in short, agonized gasps. Lily walked ahead with Bo, the compass clutched in her hand, following its needle through the black forest. You're sure about this direction? Ellen asked. The compass knows, Lily said. Daddy always said it was special. It doesn't just point north, it points true. Ellen exchanged a glance with Ellie. Neither understood what the child meant, but neither was willing to question the only guide they had. The tunnel entrance appeared like a wound in the mountainside, a gaping darkness framed by rotting timber supports and rusted chain-link fencing. A faded sign read, Danger. No entry. Jefferson Mining Co. Jefferson Mine, Ellie murmured. This is where Thomas... Different section, Ellen said quickly. The collapse was on the east shaft. This is the old transport tunnel. It's been abandoned longer, but it should be more stable. Should be. I'm going on 20-year-old maps and a 7-year-old's compass. Should be is the best I can offer. Lily was already pulling at the fence. There's a hole here. Someone cut it a long time ago. Probably Boone's people, Marcus said. They use these tunnels to move shipments. If we're lucky, the path is clear. And if we're not lucky... Marcus didn't answer. He didn't have to. They squeezed through the gap, one by one. The tunnel swallowed them in darkness so complete that Lily couldn't see her hand in front of her face. Ellen clicked on the flashlight, and the beam cut through the black like a blade. Stay close, Ellie commanded, and watch your step. The floor is uneven. They moved deeper into the mountain. The air grew colder, damper, thick with the smell of earth and something else, something metallic that made Lily's nose wrinkle. What's that smell, Ma? Old machinery, Ellen said. These tunnels were used for coal transport. There's equipment down here that's been rusting for decades. But Ellie knew the truth. She'd smelled it too many times in too many emergency rooms. Blood, old blood, and underneath it the faint sweet rot of death. She didn't say anything. Lily didn't need to know. Not yet. They walked for what felt like hours, but was probably only 20 minutes. The tunnel twisted and branched, but Lily's compass never wavered, its needle pointing steadily forward. There should be a junction up ahead, Ellen said, consulting her mental map. The main passage continues toward Highway 12, but there's a side shaft that goes deeper into the mountain. If Thomas hid evidence, my guess is the side shaft, Lily finished. That's where the X is. They reached the junction and stopped. The main passage stretched ahead wide and relatively clear. The side shaft was narrower, darker, and partially blocked by a collapsed support beam. We'll never fit through there with Marcus, Ellie said. I'll go alone, Lily offered. Absolutely not. Grandma, I'm the smallest. I can squeeze through where you can't, and Bo will come with me. He always protects me. Lily, there could be anything in there. Cave-ins, bad air traps. Or Daddy's evidence. Lily's voice was steady. The thing that could put the bad men away forever. The thing that could get justice for all those people who died. For Daddy. Ellie's heart was being torn in two. Every instinct screamed to protect this child, to wrap her in cotton and never let her face danger again. But she also had always known that Lily was not an ordinary child. She was her father's daughter, and Thomas had never run from the right thing, even when it killed him. 5 minutes, Ellie said finally. You have 5 minutes. If you're not back, I'm coming in after you. I'll be back. Lily hugged her grandmother fiercely. I promise. She squeezed through the gap in the debris, Bo wriggling after her. The flashlight Ellen gave her cast dancing shadows on the rough stone walls. Just like an adventure, Lily whispered to herself. Just like the stories Daddy used to tell. But her hands were shaking. The side shaft descended sharply, the floor slick with moisture. Lily picked her way, carefully testing each step before committing her weight. Bo padded beside her nose to the ground, alert for any threat. 50 feet in the shaft opened into a small chamber, and there in the center of the room was a metal box covered in dust and cobwebs. Lily's heart leaped. She rushed forward, dropped to her knees, and wiped the grime from the box's surface. There was no lock, just a simple latch. She flipped it open. Inside were dozens of files, photographs, and cassette tapes labeled with dates and names. On top of everything was a sealed envelope addressed in handwriting Lily knew better than her own. To whoever finds this, my name is Thomas Dawson, and I have proof that Sheriff Randall Boone is a murderer. Lily clutched the envelope to her chest and started to cry. I found it, Daddy, she sobbed. I found it, just like you wanted. Bo whimpered and pressed against her legs. Okay, she said, wiping her eyes. Okay, we have to go. She grabbed the box. It was heavy, but she was strong for her age and turned back toward the tunnel. That's when she heard the voices. The blood trail leads in here. A man's voice, gruff and cruel. They're in the tunnels. Good. Another voice, colder. Then they're trapped. Lily's blood turned to ice. Hicks. They'd found them. She ran. Back in the main tunnel, Ellie heard the commotion and grabbed Ellen's arm. They're here. Boone's men are here. The side shaft, Marcus said. Lily. A small figure burst through the gap in the debris, a metal box clutched in her arms, a German shepherd at her heels. Run! Lily screamed. They're coming! Run! There was no time for questions. Ellen grabbed Marcus, supporting most of his weight. Ellie grabbed Lily's hand. They ran into the darkness, the flashlight beam bouncing wildly off the tunnel walls. Behind them, boots pounded against stone. Shouts echoed. A gunshot rang out, the bullet sparking off the rock inches from Ellie's head. Keep moving, Ellen yelled. The exit is less than a quarter mile. Marcus was slowing them down. Every step was agony. His wound reopened and bleeding through the bandages. But he refused to stop, refused to let them carry him, refused to be the reason they died. Leave me, he gasped. Shut up, Ellie snapped. Another gunshot. Closer this time. Lily stumbled, nearly dropping the box. Bo circled back, barking furiously at the darkness behind them. Bo, come, Lily cried. The dog hesitated. Then he turned and ran, not toward Lily, but toward the pursuers. Bo, no. Lily, we can't stop. He's my dog, he's my... A scream echoed from behind them. Not Bo's. A man's scream, high and terrified. Then another gunshot. And then silence. Lily's legs stopped moving. Her heart stopped beating. The world stopped turning. Bo. Her voice was barely a whisper. Bo. A shape emerged from the darkness. 4 legs. Torn ear. Amber eyes gleaming in the flashlight beam. Bo limped toward her, blood matting the fur on his shoulder, but alive. Alive. Lily dropped to her knees and threw her arms around him. Good boy, the best boy. We need to keep moving, Ellen urged. That was only Hicks. There are others. They ran. The tunnel began to slope upward. Fresh air kissed their faces, and ahead, a gray light that could only mean one thing: the exit. They burst into the night lungs, burning legs screaming, hearts pounding. Highway 12 stretched before them, empty and beautiful in the pre-dawn gloom. Ellen pulled out her phone. "I've got signal. I'm calling FBI agent Diana Cross. She's the federal contact Cooper was supposed to meet." "Will she believe you?" Ellie asked. "She'll believe the evidence." Ellen's eyes met Lily's. All of it. Marcus collapsed against a tree, his face gray, his breathing shallow. Ellie rushed to his side, checking his pulse, his wound, his eyes. "He needs a hospital," she said. "A real one. Now." "There's a medical center 15 miles south," Ellen said, phone pressed to her ear. "Outside Boone's territory. I'll get us there." "And Boone?" Ellen's jaw tightened. "Agent Cross is mobilizing a team. By sunrise, Copper Ridge is going to have more federal agents than it has residents." Lily sat beside Marcus Bowe's head, in her lap, the metal box at her feet. She opened the envelope from her father and began to read. His words swam before her eyes. Words of love, of apology, of hope. He'd known he might not survive. He'd known Boone was dangerous, but he'd done what was right anyway because that's who he was. "I love you, Lilybug." The letter ended. "Be brave, be kind, and remember the compass always points true. Not north. True. It points to whatever you need most. And what I needed most was to know you'd be okay. If you're reading this, then you are. And that means I can rest." Lily folded the letter carefully and tucked it inside her jacket next to her heart. "I'm okay, Daddy," she whispered. "I'm okay." Dawn broke over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. In the distance, sirens wailed. Not Boone's sirens, but federal ones, coming to tear down everything he'd built. The nightmare wasn't over yet. There would be trials and testimony and long nights full of memories that hurt. But as Lily sat in the growing light, surrounded by the people and the dog who had walked through fire with her, she understood something her father had tried to teach her all along. The darkness doesn't win. Not if you refuse to let it. Not if you keep moving. Not if you hold on to each other. And never, ever let go. In a black SUV racing toward Copper Ridge, Sheriff Randall Boone listened to his phone with a face like carved stone. "They escaped through the tunnels," Hicks reported, his voice strained with pain. "The dog got me good, but that's not the worst part. What could possibly be worse? The girl, the little Dawson girl. She was carrying a box, a metal box. And unless I'm wrong, she just found what you've been looking for the past 2 years. Boone's hand tightened on the phone until the plastic cracked. "Where are they now?" "Highway 12, heading south. I couldn't follow, I'm bleeding too bad." "Then you're useless to me." Boone ended the call and stared out the window at the lightening sky. 20 years of work. 20 years of building an empire, buying judges, burying bodies. All of it about to crumble because of a wounded cop and a 7-year-old girl. He pulled up another number on his phone. His contact in Nashville. The one who'd made sure Danny Martinez ended up at the bottom of Briar's Gorge. "I need one more job," he said. And this time, no mistakes. He gave the description of the targets: an old woman, a wounded man, a young female deputy, and a child. A little girl with blonde hair carrying a metal box. "Whatever it costs," Boone said. "Make them disappear, all of them." He ended the call and allowed himself a cold smile. The game wasn't over yet. The medical center appeared through the windshield like a beacon, its lights cutting through the gray morning mist. Ellen pulled the stolen truck to a screeching halt at the emergency entrance, her hands still shaking from the drive. "We're here," she said. "Marcus, stay with me. Stay awake." But Marcus wasn't responding. His eyes had rolled back, his skin the color of old paper. The bandages on his shoulder were soaked through with fresh blood. "He's crashing," Ellie said, her voice sharp with decades of medical training. "We need to get him inside now." Lily jumped out first, Bo limping beside her, the metal box clutched against her chest. She ran toward the glass doors, screaming at the top of her lungs. "Help somebody! Help, he's dying!" 2 nurses burst through the doors with a gurney. They took one look at Marcus and shifted into emergency mode, shouting orders, calling for doctors, moving with the kind of urgent precision that only comes from years of saving lives. "Gunshot wound to the left shoulder," Ellie reported as they loaded Marcus onto the gurney. "Bullet extracted approximately 4 hours ago. Field conditions. Significant blood loss. He's been in and out of consciousness for the past hour." "Are you a doctor?" "Nurse. 40 years ER experience." "Then scrub in. We need all hands." Ellie hesitated, looking back at Lily. "Go, Grandma." Lily's voice was steady despite the fear in her eyes. "Save him. I'll be okay. Stay with Ellen. Don't leave her sight. And don't let go of that box." "I won't." Ellie disappeared through the swinging doors, and Lily was left standing in the harsh fluorescent light of the waiting room, clutching her father's legacy to her chest. Ellen guided her to a row of plastic chairs. "Sit down, honey. You need to rest." "I can't rest. Not until I know he's okay." "The doctors here are good. They'll take care of him." Lily looked up at the deputy, her eyes too old for her 7 years. "You really believe that?" Ellen didn't answer. She couldn't lie to this child, not after everything they'd been through. Her phone buzzed. Agent Diana Cross. "Deputy Marsh. This is Cross. I've got a team en route to Copper Ridge. ETA 40 minutes. Where are you now?" "Clearwater Medical Center, about 15 miles south of Copper Ridge. We have a wounded federal witness, a civilian grandmother, and a 7-year-old girl. The girl has evidence, physical evidence, connecting Sheriff Boone to multiple homicides, drug trafficking, and child smuggling operations." Silence on the line. Then, "Say that again." "You heard me. Thomas Dawson, one of the Jefferson mine victims, he gathered everything before he died. His daughter just recovered it from a hiding place in the old tunnels." "Dawson. I know that name. He sent anonymous tips to our office 2 years ago. We could never verify the source. Now you can. But we need protection, Agent Cross. Boone knows we're here. He'll send people. Can you hold your position?" Ellen looked around the small waiting room. One entrance, one exit, glass walls on 3 sides. It was a fishbowl. A death trap. "I don't know. I'm diverting resources. 20 minutes. Can you give me 20 minutes? "I'll try." She ended the call and turned to Lily. "We might have company coming. Bad company. I need you to do exactly what I say when I say it. Can you do that?" Lily nodded. Her grip on the metal box tightened. "Good girl." Beau's ears pricked up. A low growl rumbled in his throat. Ellen's hand moved to her weapon. Through the glass doors, a black SUV pulled into the parking lot. "Get behind the counter," Ellen ordered. "Now! Take Beau. Don't come out until I tell you." Lily didn't argue. She grabbed Beau's collar and pulled him behind the reception desk, pressing herself flat against the floor. The SUV doors opened. 2 men stepped out, both wearing dark jackets, both moving with the coiled readiness of professionals. Ellen recognized neither of them. These weren't Copper Ridge deputies. These were something worse. Contractors. The kind Boone used for jobs that couldn't be traced back to him. She positioned herself near the entrance badge, visible hand resting on her holstered weapon. The first man pushed through the doors. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a face that had seen violence and enjoyed it. "Morning, deputy." His voice was smooth, friendly even. "We're looking for some friends of ours. A woman, an older lady, a little girl. Maybe a wounded man. You seen anyone like that?" "This is a medical facility," Ellen replied, her voice flat. "Lots of wounded people here." "I'm sure there are. But these particular friends, they're special. They have something that belongs to my employer." "I don't know what you're talking about." The man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Deputy, let me be real with you. I know who you are. I know what you've done. And I know you're standing between me and a federal witness. That makes you either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both. Maybe." He took a step closer. "But here's the thing. My employer doesn't want any unnecessary casualties. Hand over the evidence, tell us where the girl is, and you walk away. Simple." "And the others?" "The girl's grandmother, the wounded officer." The man's smile widened. They're not your concern anymore. Ellen's jaw tightened. I think they are. Then you've made your choice. His hand moved toward his jacket. Ellen drew first. The gunshot shattered the morning silence. The first man dropped, clutching his shoulder, screaming obscenities. The second drew his weapon, but Ellen was already moving, kicking over a row of chairs between them, using the chaos as cover. "Stay down!" she screamed at the receptionist cowering behind her desk. The second shooter fired twice. One bullet hit the wall beside Ellen's head. The other punched through a window, sending glass cascading across the floor. Ellen returned fire, catching him in the leg. He went down hard. But the first man was already up, bleeding, but mobile, pulling a backup weapon from his ankle holster. "You're dead," he snarled. "You're all dead." A blur of fur and teeth launched from behind the reception desk. Bo hit the man full force, 80 pounds of rage and loyalty. His jaws clamped onto the shooter's gun hand. The man screamed, tried to throw off the dog, but Bo held on like his life depended on it. Because Lily's life did. Ellen fired again. The man finally stopped moving. Silence fell over the waiting room, broken only by the distant wail of approaching sirens and Bo's panting breath. "Lily!" Ellen called. "Lily, it's okay. You can come out now." A small head appeared over the reception desk. Lily's face was pale, her eyes wide, but she wasn't crying. She climbed over the counter and ran to Bo, throwing her arms around the dog. "Good boy," she whispered. "The best boy. The bravest boy." Bo's tail wagged weakly. He was exhausted. His shoulder wound reopened, but his eyes never left Lily's face. Ellen checked the two shooters. One dead, one unconscious. She kicked their weapons away and pulled out her phone. "Agent Cross, we've got a situation. 2 hostiles down. We need that backup now." 10 minutes, deputy. Hold on." Ellen ended the call and looked at Lily. "We can't stay here. If Boone sent 2, he'll send more. Where do we go?" "Somewhere defensible, somewhere they won't expect." Ellen's mind raced. The hospital has a basement, storage rooms, mechanical areas, lots of places to hide, and only one way in. What about Grandma? What about Marcus? They're in surgery. Best place they could be right now, armed security, locked doors. Boone's people won't risk hitting the OR. Too many witnesses. Lily nodded, though her lip trembled. "Okay, let's go." They moved through the hospital corridors, past frightened staff and confused patients, toward the stairs leading down. Ellen kept her weapon drawn, checking every corner, every doorway. Bo limped alongside Lily, refusing to be left behind despite his injuries. The metal box was still clutched in Lily's arms, pressed so tightly against her chest that her knuckles had gone white. "You know what's in there, don't you?" Ellen asked as they descended the stairs. "Your father's evidence. I know it's important. I know people died for it. I know it can stop the bad men. It can do more than that. It can change everything. Bring down a network that's been operating for 20 years. Free children who've been taken. Give families closure." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then, "My daddy died trying to do the right thing. Mama left because she was scared. But Grandma stayed, and Daddy's still helping us even now. That's what the evidence means. It means the good people don't give up." Ellen felt tears prick at her eyes. She'd become a deputy because she believed in justice. Somewhere along the way, that belief had been buried under fear and compromise. But this child, this 7-year-old girl who had walked through fire and never stopped fighting, had reminded her what courage actually looked like. "Your daddy would be proud of you," Ellen said. "I know." Lily's voice was soft but certain. "That's why I keep going." They reached the basement. Ellen found a maintenance room filled with pipes and old equipment, a single heavy door that could be barricaded from inside. "In here, help me move this." Together they shoved a heavy metal shelf against the door. It wasn't much, but it would buy time. Lily sat down against the wall, Bo curling up beside her. She finally allowed herself to shake the adrenaline of the past hours catching up to her small body. "I'm scared," she admitted in a whisper. Ellen sat beside her. "Me too." "Really? Really? Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do what needs doing anyway. That's what Grandma says. Your grandma's a smart woman. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then, do you think he'll make it, Marcus? Ellen hesitated. She wanted to lie to offer easy comfort, but this child deserved the truth. I don't know. He's hurt bad. But your grandmother's with him and she's not going to let him go without a fight. He has to live, Lily's voice cracked. He has to. We saved him. That means we're responsible for him now. That's what Daddy always said, when you save something, it becomes yours to protect. He told you that. When we found Bo, he was so skinny and his ear was all torn up, and Daddy said most people would have walked past, but we didn't. We took him home and Daddy said, he's ours now, Lilybug. We saved him, so we have to love him. Ellen's throat tightened. And you think it's the same with Marcus? I know it is. Lily looked down at her hands, still dirty, still stained with dried blood. When I pulled him out of that car when Bo and I dragged him away from the fire, something connected. I don't know how to explain it. But he's ours now, mine and Bo's and Grandma's, and I won't let the bad men take him. A sound from above made them both freeze. Footsteps. Heavy boots on the stairwell. Bo's growl filled the small room. Ellen drew her weapon and positioned herself between Lily and the door. Stay behind me, she breathed. No matter what happens, stay behind me. The footsteps stopped outside the door. A voice called out, muffled but audible. Deputy Marsh, this is Agent Diana Cross, FBI. We've secured the building. It's safe to come out. Ellen didn't move. How do I know it's really you? A pause. Then, when we spoke on the phone, I told you Thomas Dawson sent anonymous tips to our office. You told me his daughter had recovered his evidence from the old mining tunnels. You asked for 20 minutes. It's been 18. Ellen's shoulders sagged with relief. She looked at Lily. I think we're okay. You think only one way to find out. She moved the shelf and opened the door. A woman stood in the corridor, mid-40s, sharp eyes, FBI badge hanging from her neck. Behind her, 4 agents in tactical gear swept the basement. Deputy Marsh, the woman extended her hand. Diana Cross, hell of a night you've had. You have no idea. Cross's gaze moved to Lily, still clutching the metal box. And you must be Lily Dawson. I've heard a lot about you in the past few hours. Lily stood up straighter. Are you the good guys? We try to be. Then you should have this. Lily held out the box. It's what my daddy died for. It's what everyone's been fighting for. I don't want to carry it anymore. Cross took the box with something like reverence. We'll take it from here, sweetheart. I promise you what's in this box will put away every single person responsible for what happened to your father and all those other men. And the children. Lily's voice shook. The ones they took. Cross's expression hardened. We're already working on it. Thanks to Deputy Marsh's information, we have locations. Teams are moving in as we speak. By tomorrow, those children will be safe. Lily nodded slowly. Then her face crumpled. I want my grandma. Please. I want my grandma. Cross knelt down to Lily's level. She's upstairs. The surgery was successful. Officer Cooper is stable. Your grandmother is asking for you. Lily didn't wait for permission. She ran for the stairs, Bo hobbling after her, leaving Ellen and Cross in the basement corridor. That's one hell of a kid, Cross said. You don't know the half of it. Ellen leaned against the wall, exhaustion finally catching up. What happens now? Now we clean up. Sheriff Boone is already in custody, tried to flee when he heard we were coming. His whole department is being detained and questioned. The evidence in this box will seal the case. And me, Cross studied her for a long moment. That depends. You were part of his operation for 2 years. Even if you didn't know the full extent, you knew something. I did. Ellen's voice was flat, accepting. And I was too scared to act. Danny Martinez tried to warn me and I didn't listen. He's dead because I was a coward. You're not a coward tonight. Tonight you saved lives. A lot of them. Does that make up for the ones I didn't save? I don't know. That's not for me to judge. Cross paused. But if you're willing to testify, fully cooperate with the investigation, help us understand the network, I can advocate for leniency, maybe even immunity. I'll do whatever it takes. I owe them that. Danny, Thomas Dawson, all of them. Cross nodded. Then let's get to work. Upstairs, Lily burst through the doors of the recovery ward. Grandma. Ellie turned from Marcus's bedside, her face gray with exhaustion but alive with relief. She caught Lily in her arms and held her so tight it hurt. Oh, baby girl. Oh, my brave, brave girl. Is he okay? Lily pulled back, looking at the figure in the hospital bed. Is Marcus okay? Marcus Cooper lay still beneath white sheets, his shoulder heavily bandaged, IV lines trailing from his arm. But his chest rose and fell steadily, and some color had returned to his face. He's going to be fine, Ellie said. Lost a lot of blood, but the doctors got to him in time. He's strong. Lily moved to the bedside and took Marcus's hand, the same hand she'd held in the cabin, while her grandmother extracted a bullet, the same hand that had gripped hers and told her to run. You made it, she whispered. I told you we'd save you. Marcus's eyes fluttered open. He looked at her for a long moment, confusion giving way to recognition, and then incredibly he smiled. You did save me, he said, his voice hoarse. All of you. Does this mean you're ours now? Marcus blinked. What? My daddy said when you save something it becomes yours to protect. You're ours now. Mine and Bo's and Grandma's. We have to love you. Ellie made a soft sound, something between a laugh and a sob. Marcus stared at the little girl, dirt still streaked across her face, her father's jacket hanging off her small shoulders, holding his hand like she'd never let go, and felt something break open inside him that he'd thought was gone forever. Yeah, he said softly. I guess I am. Bo jumped up, resting his head on the edge of the bed, his amber eyes fixed on Marcus's face. Him too, Marcus said, reaching out to scratch behind the dog's torn ear. We're all in this together now. Lily smiled, the first real smile since this whole nightmare began. Good. Because we're not very good at letting people go. Agent Cross appeared in the doorway. Officer Cooper, I'm glad you're awake. I'm Diana Cross, FBI. I've been hunting Randall Boone for 3 years. Thanks to you and this young lady, we finally have everything we need. Marcus's expression darkened. Boone. Is he in custody? His whole network is coming apart. We've arrested 23 people in the past 4 hours, with more to come. Cross stepped closer. The evidence Thomas Dawson gathered, combined with your body cam footage and testimony from Deputy Marsh, gives us an airtight case. Boone is going away for the rest of his life. What about the trafficking operation, the children? We've located 3 holding facilities so far. Rescued 16 children ages 6 to 14. More operations are ongoing. Lily's hand tightened on Marcus's. 16 children. They were going to hurt 16 children. But they didn't, Ellie said firmly. Because of you. Because of your daddy. Because good people stood up when it mattered. Cross nodded. Thomas Dawson knew he was running out of time. He knew Boone was closing in. So he hid his evidence somewhere he knew it would eventually be found by someone who loved him enough to never stop looking. She looked at Lily. That compass your father gave you, the one that led you to the hiding place, he modified it, changed the magnetic alignment so it would point to the tunnel entrance instead of north. Lily's eyes widened. He knew I'd figure it out someday. He believed in you, Cross smiled gently, and he was right to. A commotion in the hallway drew everyone's attention. Voices raised, boots pounding, someone shouting orders. Cross's hand moved to her weapon. Stay here. She stepped into the corridor and the sounds of chaos grew louder. Lily pressed closer to Marcus's bed, Bo positioning himself protectively in front of her. Then Cross reappeared, her face grim. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Ellie demanded. The 2 men who attacked the waiting room, they weren't Boone's only backup. Our teams just intercepted communications suggesting a 3rd team was dispatched. Professionals, ex-military. Where are they now? We don't know, but they were given one directive: eliminate all witnesses. That includes everyone in this room. Marcus tried to sit up. We need to move. Get Lily somewhere safe. You're not going anywhere, Ellie cut in. You can barely lift your head. I don't have a choice. You have plenty of choices. The first one is trusting the people who've already saved your life twice. Lily looked between the adults, her small face set with determination. I'm not running anymore. I'm tired of running. Lily. No, listen to me. She stepped forward, her voice stronger than anyone expected. The bad men already lost. Boone is in jail. The children are safe. My daddy's evidence is with the FBI. There's nothing left to fight for except revenge. Cross stared at her. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe they don't want to kill us. Maybe they just want to escape. And maybe if you let them know it's over, really over, they'll stop. These are trained killers, sweetheart. They don't just stop. Danny did. Lily looked at Ellen, who had appeared in the doorway. You said Danny Martinez wanted to be a teacher. He was part of Boone's operation, but he tried to stop it. He tried to do the right thing. Maybe these men will too. Or maybe they'll kill us all. Then we fight. Lily's chin lifted. But we give them a chance first. That's what good people do. The room fell silent. Marcus looked at this child, this impossible, extraordinary child who had pulled him from a burning car and carried him through darkness, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. She's right, he said quietly. Contact them. Tell them it's over. Give them a way out. And if they don't take it... Marcus met Cross's eyes. Then we end it, whatever that takes. Cross hesitated. Then she pulled out her phone. This is Agent Cross. I need a broadcast on all intercepted frequencies. Message as follows. They waited. Outside, somewhere in the growing light of morning, 3 men in tactical gear listened to a voice on their radio. This is FBI Agent Diana Cross. Sheriff Randall Boone is in federal custody. His entire operation has been dismantled. 23 arrests, 16 children recovered, all evidence secured. The mission is over. You have 2 options: surrender peacefully and receive consideration for cooperation, or continue and face the full force of federal law enforcement. Choose wisely. You have 5 minutes. The radio went silent. In the hospital room, no one breathed. Bo's ears swiveled toward the window, tracking sounds no human could hear. Lily held Marcus's hand. Ellie held Lily's shoulder. Ellen stood guard at the door. 4 minutes. 3, 2, 1. The radio crackled. This is Team 3. We're standing down. Repeat, standing down. Coordinates for surrender to follow. The tension shattered like glass. Lily slumped against the bed, tears finally streaming down her face. Ellie gathered her up, holding her close, murmuring words of comfort and love. Marcus closed his eyes, a single tear tracking down his weathered cheek. Ellen lowered her weapon and leaned against the wall, shaking. Cross let out a breath she hadn't known she was holding. It's over. It's really over. No, Lily said, her voice muffled against her grandmother's chest. It's just beginning. And somewhere in a place beyond pain and darkness, Thomas Dawson smiled. His little girl had done it. She'd carried the light all the way through. 3 days passed like water through a sieve, each hour bleeding into the next. Lily refused to leave the hospital. Ellie brought her clean clothes, her drawing journal, and a pillow from home, but the child wouldn't budge from the chair beside Marcus's bed. She slept there, ate there, drew picture after picture, while Bo lay at her feet, both of them standing vigil over the man they'd claimed as their own. Marcus drifted in and out of consciousness, his body fighting to repair what Boone's bullet had torn apart. Each time he woke, Lily was there, a small, steady presence in the chaos of beeping monitors and bustling nurses. "You're still here," he murmured on the morning of the 3rd day. "I told you." Lily didn't look up from her drawing. "You're ours now. Don't you have school?" "Grandma said I could miss this week. She called it extenuating circumstances." Marcus almost smiled. Did she explain what that means? She said it means sometimes life is more important than spelling tests. Lily finally met his eyes. I think she's right. Agent Cross appeared in the doorway, her expression unreadable. She'd been a constant presence over the past 3 days, coordinating the massive investigation from a makeshift command center in the hospital's administrative wing. Officer Cooper, you're looking better. I'm feeling worse. That probably means I'm healing. Good, because we need to talk. Cross glanced at Lily. Privately. Whatever you have to say, you can say in front of her. She's earned that. Cross hesitated, then nodded slowly. Fair enough. She closed the door behind her. We finished the initial analysis of Thomas Dawson's evidence. It's even more extensive than we thought. Ellie appeared from the bathroom where she'd been washing her face. What do you mean? I mean your son didn't just document Boone's operation. He mapped the entire network. Supply chains, distribution routes, financial trails. He tracked connections to corrupt officials in 6 states. Judges, prosecutors, police chiefs, all of them on Boone's payroll. Lily's hand stopped moving across her paper. That's why they killed him. He knew everything. He knew too much, and he was getting ready to go public. Cross pulled out a folder. We found draft letters in his files. He was planning to send copies to every major news outlet in the country, the FBI, the DOJ, the governor's office. He wanted to make sure the evidence couldn't be buried. But he never sent them, Ellie said quietly. No. The mine accident happened 2 days before his planned release date. Boone found out somehow. Moved fast to silence him. Marcus's jaw tightened. 17 men died because one man wanted to do the right thing. 17 families destroyed. 18. Cross's voice was soft. Danny Martinez makes 18. He was following Thomas's trail when Boone got to him. Lily looked up sharply. Danny? The deputy Ellen talked about. The same. He was trying to finish what Thomas started. Ellen didn't know Danny kept her out of it to protect her. But he found the compass clue, figured out Thomas had hidden evidence somewhere. He was 3 days away from locating it when his car went off the cliff. It wasn't an accident, Lily said. It wasn't a question. No. Deputy Wade Hicks admitted to the murder during his interrogation last night. He gave Danny up to save himself. Cross's mouth twisted with disgust. That's the kind of loyalty Boone inspired. Ellie sat down heavily in the chair beside her granddaughter. Her face had gone pale. All this time, all these years, I thought Thomas died in an accident. I blamed the mining company. I blamed the inspectors. I never knew. You weren't supposed to know. Boone covered his tracks very carefully. Cross paused. But there's more, and this part is harder. What could possibly be harder than learning my son was murdered? Cross took a breath. The child trafficking operation. We've been analyzing the records, trying to identify victims, trace the network. And we found something. She opened the folder and pulled out a photograph. A young woman, early 20s, with haunted eyes and familiar features. Lily gasped. That's my mama. Ellie's world tilted. Sarah, what does Sarah have to do with... Sarah Dawson née Mitchell was trafficked through Boone's network when she was 16 years old. She escaped 3 years later, changed her identity, tried to build a new life. She met Thomas at a diner in Memphis. They fell in love, got married, had Lily. No, Ellie's voice cracked. That's not possible. Sarah was... She was from Ohio. She had family there. There was no family in Ohio, Mrs. Dawson. There was no Sarah Mitchell. Her real name was Maria Santos, and she was taken from her parents in Guatemala when she was 14. The room spun. Lily gripped her grandmother's arm, trying to anchor them both to something solid. Sarah didn't abandon you, Cross continued gently. She ran because she recognized one of Boone's men in town. She knew if she stayed, her past would catch up, and when it did, it wouldn't just destroy her, it would destroy everyone she loved. She was protecting us, Lily whispered. She was trying to. We found letters in Boone's files, correspondence with his network, asking about a Maria Santos who had escaped years ago. He'd been looking for her ever since. When he realized she was married to the man investigating him, he used her, Marcus said, his voice rough. Leverage. Threatened to expose her past, destroy her family unless Thomas backed off. That's our theory. Thomas refused to stop. Sarah knew what that meant, so she disappeared before Boone could use her against her husband. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Mama didn't leave because she didn't love us. She left because she did. Yes, sweetheart. That's exactly why she left. The tears spilled over, tracking down Lily's cheeks. But she didn't sob, didn't wail. She just sat very still, absorbing a truth that rewrote everything she'd believed about her mother. Where is she now? Ellie's voice was barely audible. Is she alive? We don't know yet. We're looking. But I wanted you to know the truth before it came out publicly. This is going to be a big case. National news. Your family's story will be part of it. I want to find her. Lily's voice was steady despite her tears. My mama. I want to find her and tell her it's okay. Tell her we understand. Tell her she can come home. Cross knelt down to the child's level. We're doing everything we can. I promise you. Promises are easy, Lily said. Daddy made promises too. He promised he'd come home from work every day. He promised nothing bad would ever happen to me. He promised Mama would come back when she was ready. Lily. He couldn't keep those promises, not because he didn't want to, because sometimes the world is too broken to let good people keep their word. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. But he kept the one that mattered. He left the evidence. He made sure someone would find it. He made sure the bad men would pay. That's the promise he kept. Marcus reached out and took her hand. Your father was a hero, Lily. A real one. Not the kind in movies who never gets hurt. The kind who gets hurt every day and keeps fighting anyway. Like you. No. Better than me. I ran away from the hard stuff for years. I let my partner die because I didn't speak up when I should have. Your father never ran. He stood his ground until the very end. Then we'll stand our ground too. Lily squeezed his hand. For him. For Mama. For all of them. Agent Cross stood. I'll leave you to process this. But there's one more thing. She pulled out an envelope. We found this in Thomas's files. It's addressed to Lily. We think he wrote it the night before he died. She placed the envelope on the bed and left quietly. Lily stared at it like it might explode. Do you want me to open it? Ellie asked. No, I need to do it myself. Her small fingers trembled as she tore the seal. Inside was a single sheet of paper covered in her father's familiar handwriting. She read it silently, her lips moving over the words. Tears fell onto the paper, blurring the ink, but she didn't stop. When she finished, she folded it carefully and pressed it to her heart. What did it say? Marcus asked gently. He said he was sorry he couldn't be there to watch me grow up. He said Mama loved me more than anything in the world, and if she ever had to leave, it wouldn't be because she wanted to. He said Grandma would take care of me, and I should take care of her too. Lily paused, gathering herself. He said he was leaving me a treasure hunt. That if I ever needed to find the truth, I should follow the compass. It would lead me home. He knew, Ellie breathed. He knew all along. He knew he might not survive. He knew Mama might have to run. He knew I'd be alone with you, Grandma, and he made a plan to protect us even after he was gone. Lily looked at her grandmother with eyes far too old for 7. That's what love looks like. Not being there forever. Being there even when you can't be. The room fell silent except for the steady beep of Marcus's heart monitor and Beau's soft breathing. Then Ellie pulled her granddaughter into her arms and held her like she'd never let go. Later that day, Deputy Ellen Marsh came to say goodbye. She stood awkwardly in the doorway, cleaned up and dressed in civilian clothes. She looked younger, somehow lighter, like she'd set down a weight she'd been carrying for years. I'm leaving for Nashville tonight, she said. The FBI wants me for depositions. Then, she shrugged. I don't know, start over somewhere. Be someone better than who I've been. You were brave when it counted, Lily said. That's what matters. I was scared when it counted too, for a long time. Grandma says being brave means doing hard things even when you're scared. Maybe especially when you're scared. Ellen smiled the first real smile they'd seen from her. Your grandma's a wise woman. The wisest. Ellen moved closer, then knelt down to Lily's level. I wanted to thank you for giving me a chance, for not treating me like the enemy when you had every right to. You helped us get through the tunnels. You protected us at the hospital. You almost died for us. It was the least I could do, after everything. No. Lily's voice was firm. It wasn't the least. It was a lot. Danny would be proud of you. Ellen's composure cracked. A single tear escaped down her cheek. I hope so. God, I hope so. I know so. And when you find somewhere new to start over, remember what you did here. Remember you were brave when a little girl needed you to be. Ellen stood, wiped her eyes, and looked at Ellie and Marcus. Take care of her. She's special. We know, Marcus said. Believe me, we know. Ellen nodded once, then left. They never saw her again, but years later they heard she'd become a victim's advocate in Chicago, helping trafficking survivors rebuild their lives. Danny Martinez would have been proud indeed. That evening, the TV in Marcus's room flickered to life with breaking news. FBI director confirms largest corruption bust in Tennessee history. Sheriff Randall Boone of Copper Ridge, along with 47 co-conspirators, faces federal charges including murder, drug trafficking, and human trafficking. The investigation was sparked by evidence gathered by the late Thomas Dawson, a mine worker who was murdered 2 years ago. Lily watched her father's photograph appear on screen. It was the picture from his employee badge, serious face, kind eyes, the hint of a smile at the corners of his mouth. Dawson's evidence was recovered by his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, in a dramatic sequence of events that began when the child rescued a wounded federal officer from a burning vehicle. They're talking about us, Lily said softly. They're talking about heroes, Marcus replied. Ordinary people who did extraordinary things. I don't feel like a hero. I just feel tired. That's how you know it was real. Real courage leaves you exhausted. The fake stuff in movies never shows that part. The newscast continued detailing the arrests, the rescued children the network dismantled. They showed footage of Boone being led from the courthouse in handcuffs, his face blank with shock, like he still couldn't believe his empire had crumbled. Then the anchor's expression shifted. In a related development, federal authorities have issued an appeal for information regarding the whereabouts of Sarah Dawson, wife of Thomas Dawson, who disappeared 3 years ago. Investigators now believe she may have been fleeing from the same criminal organization her husband was investigating. A photograph appeared, Sarah's face frozen in time. Young, beautiful, scared. Lily stood and pressed her hand against the screen. Mama. They'll find her, Ellie said, though her voice wavered. Now that the truth is out, maybe she'll hear. Maybe she'll know it's safe. Or maybe she's been hiding so long she's forgotten how to come home. The words hung in the air, heavy with a grief that had no easy answers. Then Lily turned away from the screen, her small jaw set with determination. If she can't come to us, we'll go to her. When this is all done, when Marcus is better, when the trials are over, we'll find her. I'll find her. Lily, that could take years. I don't care how long it takes. She's my mama. She thought she was protecting us by running away. Now I'm going to protect her by bringing her back. Marcus looked at this child, 7 years old, battle-scarred and weary but unbroken, and felt something shift permanently in his heart. I'll help you, he said. When this is over, when I'm back on my feet, I'll use every resource, every contact, every skill I have. We'll find your mother together. Lily's eyes filled with fresh tears. You mean it? I never break promises, not anymore. She climbed onto his hospital bed, careful of his wounded shoulder, and curled up against his good side. Bo jumped up too, settling at their feet, and Ellie pulled her chair closer, taking Marcus's hand in one of hers and Lily's in the other. 4 broken people and 1 loyal dog bound together by tragedy and survival, and something that might, given enough time, become love. Outside, the sun was setting on Copper Ridge for the 47th time since a little girl had pulled a dying man from a burning car. But it felt like the first sunset of a new world. 1 week later, Marcus was released from the hospital. He walked out on his own 2 feet, slowly, painfully, but upright. Lily held one hand, Ellie held the other, and Bo led the way, tail wagging like he knew something wonderful was waiting. Agent Cross met them at the entrance. "There's a situation." Marcus's grip tightened on Lily's hand. "What kind of situation?" "The good kind, for once." Cross smiled, actually smiled, and stepped aside. A woman stood at the edge of the parking lot, thin, weathered, with dark hair, streaked gray, and eyes that held decades of fear. She wore a cheap dress, worn shoes, and the expression of someone who expected to be turned away. Lily's breath stopped. Mama, Sarah Dawson, Maria Santos, whoever she was now, took one hesitant step forward. "They found me in Phoenix," she said, her voice cracked from disuse. "The FBI. They told me what you did, what my little girl did. They said it was safe to come home." "Mama." Lily released Marcus's hand and ran. Sarah caught her daughter and collapsed to her knees, sobbing with a grief that had been locked away for 3 years. She held Lily like she was afraid the child would disappear, rocking back and forth, murmuring words in Spanish that Lily didn't understand, but somehow knew were love. "I'm sorry," Sarah wept. "I'm so sorry. I never wanted to leave. I never stopped loving you. I was so scared. I know, Mama. I know now. Daddy left me a letter. He explained everything." "Thomas," Sarah's face crumpled. "My Thomas. He tried so hard to protect us all, and I couldn't even go to his funeral. I couldn't. It's okay. It's okay. You're here now. That's all that matters." Ellie approached slowly, her own eyes wet. Sarah looked up at her mother-in-law with naked fear. "Eleanor, I'm sorry. I lied to you. I lied to everyone. My whole life was a lie." Ellie knelt down beside her. "Your love for my son wasn't a lie. Your love for this child wasn't a lie. Everything else..." She took Sarah's face in her hands. "Everything else we can figure out. Together." The 4 of them held each other in that hospital parking lot while strangers walked past and cars pulled in and out, and life continued its endless ordinary rhythm. Because that's what healing looks like, not grand gestures or dramatic speeches, but small, quiet moments of connection in the middle of the everyday chaos. Marcus watched from a few feet away, Bo sitting faithfully at his side. He felt like an intruder on something sacred. Then Lily looked up, searched until her eyes found his, and reached out her hand. "Come on," she said. "You're part of this now. Remember..." He hesitated. "This is your family, Lily. Your moment. You are my family." She said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "You and Grandma and Mama and Bo. That's what family is. The people who stay. The people who fight for each other. The people who don't give up." Sarah looked at him, this stranger who had bled for her daughter, who had almost died protecting what Thomas had built, and understanding dawned in her eyes. "You saved her," she said softly. "She saved me first." Then she was right. Sarah held out her other hand. "Come, be part of this." Marcus Cooper had spent years running from connection, from commitment, from anything that might hurt him again. He'd let his partner die rather than risk speaking up. He'd destroyed his marriage rather than let his wife see his pain. He'd transferred to the most remote assignment he could find, hoping to disappear into work that didn't matter. But this little girl with her father's courage and her mother's eyes had dragged him back into the world of the living. So he took Sarah's hand, and for the first time in longer than he could remember, he felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. 6 months changed everything and nothing at all. The trials began in Nashville on a cold January morning, and they didn't end until spring had melted the last of the frost. 47 defendants, 312 charges. A mountain of evidence that Thomas Dawson had spent years assembling now laid bare for the whole nation to see. Lily testified on a Tuesday. She walked into that federal courtroom holding her mother's hand on one side and her grandmother's on the other. Marcus sat in the gallery, his shoulders still stiff, but healing Bo at his feet, where the judge had granted special permission for the dog to remain. The defense attorneys had fought hard to keep her off the stand. A 7-year-old witness, they argued, was unreliable, emotional, easily confused. But the prosecutor, a fierce woman named Angela Torres, who had lost her own brother to trafficking years ago, stood firm. This child pulled a wounded federal officer from a burning car, Torres told the judge. She recovered evidence that grown investigators couldn't find for years. She survived an assassination attempt and helped bring down a criminal empire. If that's not a credible witness, I don't know what is. The judge agreed. Lily took the stand in her best dress, the one Sarah had bought her for the occasion, purple with white flowers because purple was Daddy's favorite color. She looked tiny in that massive chair, her feet barely reaching the floor. But her voice, when she spoke, carried to every corner of the silent room. State your name for the record. Lily Grace Dawson. And your age? 7.5. The half is important. A ripple of warmth moved through the gallery. Even the judge's stern face softened slightly. Lily, can you tell us what happened on the evening of September 15th? She told them. Everything. The walk home from the library, Bo's warning growl, the burning car, and the man inside. The way she'd smashed the window with a rock and cut her hand. The way Bo had helped her drag Marcus to safety before the fuel tank exploded. When she described finding her father's evidence in the mines, the box, the letter, the compass that had led her there, her voice wavered but didn't break. Why didn't you leave the evidence where it was? The prosecutor asked. Why did you take it with you? Lily thought for a moment. Because it was important. My daddy hid it there for a reason. He wanted someone to find it. Someone who would do the right thing with it. I thought maybe that was supposed to be me. Objection. The lead defense attorney rose, his face tight with frustration. The witness is speculating about the deceased's intentions. Overruled. The judge's voice was quiet but firm. Continue, Miss Dawson. Lily looked directly at Randall Boone sitting at the defense table in his prison jumpsuit, his face a mask of controlled fury. You killed my daddy, she said. You killed 17 men in that mine. You took children from their families and sold them like they were things. You hurt so many people. Miss Dawson. The prosecutor tried to redirect, but Lily wasn't finished. My daddy tried to stop you. You killed him for it. My mama had to run away because she was scared of you. I almost lost everyone I love because of what you did. Her small hands gripped the edge of the witness box. But you didn't win. You thought you were strong, but you weren't. My daddy was stronger. He left the truth behind, and a 7-year-old girl and a dog found it. The courtroom was absolutely silent. Boone's mask slipped. For just a moment, something like hatred flashed in his eyes, pure, venomous hatred for this child who had destroyed everything he'd built. But Lily didn't flinch. You're going to jail forever, she said. And when you're gone, people are going to remember my daddy. They're going to remember the good man who tried to save everyone. Nobody's going to remember you at all. The defense had no questions for her. Lily stepped down from the witness stand and walked straight to Marcus, who caught her in his arms and held her while she finally let herself shake. You did good, he murmured into her hair. You did so good. I wasn't scared. I know. Okay, maybe a little scared, but I didn't let it stop me. Marcus smiled against her head. That's my girl. Behind them, Sarah wept silently into Ellie's shoulder. She'd watched her daughter face down the monster who had stolen her childhood, her identity, her family, and she'd seen the same courage that had made her fall in love with Thomas all those years ago. Her little girl was a warrior, just like her father. The verdicts came down on a Friday afternoon in late March when the first crocuses were pushing through the thawed earth. Randall Boone guilty on all counts. 47 life sentences, no possibility of parole. Wade Hicks, guilty. 3 consecutive life terms for the murders of Thomas Dawson, Danny Martinez, and a witness who had tried to come forward 2 years earlier. The others fell like dominoes: deputies, officials, businessmen, judges. 20 years of corruption stripped bare and punished at last. Agent Cross called Ellie with the news before it hit the press. "It's done," she said. "All of them. Every single one." Ellie hung up the phone and looked at her family. Sarah curled up on the couch with Lily Marcus cooking dinner in the kitchen, Bo sprawled in a patch of sunlight by the window. "It's over," she announced, her voice trembling. Sarah's eyes widened. "Over? Really over?" "Guilty. All of them. Boone is never getting out." Lily sat up slowly. "Does that mean Daddy's at peace now?" Ellie crossed the room and knelt before her granddaughter. "I think so, baby. I think he can finally rest." "Good." Lily nodded solemnly. "He worked hard. He deserved to rest." That night they had the first real family dinner in the house since Thomas had died. Marcus made his mother's meatloaf recipe the only thing he knew how to cook that wasn't burned or undercooked. Sarah contributed rice and beans from her grandmother's recipe flavors she hadn't tasted since childhood. Ellie baked a pie from the apples in the cellar, the last of the fall harvest. They sat around the old farmhouse table, 4 people who had found each other through tragedy, and they ate until they couldn't eat anymore. "I have something to say." Marcus set down his fork and looked around the table. "These past 6 months, I don't know how to explain what they've meant to me. I came to Copper Ridge because I was running away. From my past, from my guilt, from everything I'd failed at. I thought if I buried myself in work, the pain would stop." He paused, swallowing hard. "Then a little girl and her dog pulled me out of a burning car, and everything changed." Lily grinned. "You're welcome." "I'm serious, Lily. You saved my life. Not just physically, although that too, but in every way that matters. You showed me what courage looks like, what loyalty looks like, what family is supposed to be." He looked at Ellie. "You trusted me when you had every reason not to. You carried me through those tunnels when you could have left me behind. You fought for me like I was your own son." Then at Sarah, "And you came back. After everything you'd been through, everything you'd lost, you came home. That took more courage than anything I've ever done." Sarah's eyes glistened. "I had to. My daughter was here. My family was here. The only family I've ever really had." "That's the thing." Marcus took a breath. "I don't have a family. I burned those bridges years ago. My parents passed. My ex-wife remarried. I've been alone for so long I forgot what it felt like to belong somewhere." He looked at Lily again. "Until now." Lily reached across the table and took his hand. "You're not alone anymore. I told you you're ours. That's forever. That's the rule. It's a good rule." "I know. I made it up." Everyone laughed, the kind of laughter that comes from release, from healing, from the simple joy of being alive together. Then Marcus pulled something from his pocket, a small velvet box. Sarah's breath caught. "I'm not proposing," Marcus said quickly, seeing the panic in her eyes. "I know we barely know each other. I know you've been through hell. I'm not asking for anything you're not ready to give." He opened the box. Inside were 4 simple silver bands, identical, polished, gleaming in the lamplight. "These are commitment rings, not romantic commitment, family commitment. A promise that we'll stick together no matter what, that we'll protect each other, fight for each other, never give up on each other." He held up the first ring. "Ellie, will you be my family?" Ellie's weathered face crumpled with emotion. "Oh, son, I've thought of you as family since the moment my granddaughter brought you home like a stray puppy." "Is that a yes?" "It's a yes." He slipped the ring onto her finger, then turned to Sarah. "I know you have reasons to distrust men in uniform. I know I represent everything that once hurt you, but I also know you're the bravest woman I've ever met, and I'd be honored to call you my sister in every way that counts." Sarah studied his face for a long moment. "Thomas would have liked you," she said finally. "He always could spot the good ones." "Is that a yes?" "Yes. But if you hurt my daughter, I'll make Boone look like a kindergarten bully." Marcus laughed. "Noted." He slipped the second ring onto Sarah's finger, then knelt beside Lily's chair. "And you, the girl who started all of this, the bravest person I've ever known regardless of age, will you be my family? Lily Dawson." Lily pretended to think about it. "Do I have to share my room? No. Do I have to share Beau? Beau was always yours. I'm just borrowing him. Do I have to call you Dad?" Marcus's throat tightened. "You can call me whatever feels right." Lily considered this. "How about Uncle Marcus for now? And maybe something else later, when it feels right." "That's perfect." He slipped the ring onto her small finger. It was too big, but she clutched it tight to keep it from falling off. Then he put on the fourth ring himself and looked around the table at his new family. "We made it," he said softly. "Against all odds, we made it." Beau barked once as if in agreement, and everyone laughed again. Summer came to Copper Ridge like a blessing, warm and golden and full of hope. The town had transformed in the wake of Boone's conviction. A new sheriff. Janet Williams, the first black woman to hold the office, had begun the slow work of rebuilding trust. Some of the old guard had left unable to face the shame of what they'd allowed to happen. New families had moved in, drawn by the low cost of living and the mountains that cradled the valley like protective arms. On a Saturday morning in July, the whole town gathered at the edge of the old mill property for a ceremony nobody expected. "Ladies and gentlemen," Mayor Henderson announced, his voice carrying over the crowd, "it is my honor to dedicate this new building to the memory of the 17 men who lost their lives in the Jefferson mine collapse and to all victims of the corruption that plagued our community for far too long." Behind him stood a freshly constructed building with a sign that read, "Dawson Martinez Community Center, a place for healing." Thomas Dawson's photograph hung on the front wall alongside Danny Martinez's. Below them, a plaque listed all 17 miners who had died, plus the children who had been trafficked through Boone's network. Lily stood in the front row, holding her mother's hand on one side and Marcus's on the other. Beau sat at her feet, wearing a new collar with a polished brass tag. "The center will offer counseling services for trauma survivors," the mayor continued. "Job training programs for families affected by the mine closure. After-school programs for children. And a permanent memorial so that we never forget what happened here or why it can never happen again." He turned and gestured to Lily. "We have a special guest to cut the ribbon. Miss Lily Dawson, would you please join me?" Lily walked forward, her cheeks flushed with pride and embarrassment. The giant scissors they handed her were almost bigger than she was. "Any words you'd like to share?" the mayor asked. Lily looked out at the crowd, neighbors she'd known all her life. Newcomers, she'd never met, federal agents who'd worked the case, reporters from all over the country. She thought of her father's letter, the one that had led her through the darkest night of her life. "My daddy wrote me a letter before he died," she said, her voice clear and strong despite her small stature. "He said the compass would lead me home. I thought he meant a place. I thought home was the house I grew up in, the woods I used to play in, the school where I learned to read." She paused, letting the words settle. "But that's not what he meant. Home isn't a place. It's the people who love you. The people who stay when everything falls apart. The people who fight for you even when you can't fight for yourself." She looked back at her family, Ellie, Sarah, Marcus, Beau, and smiled. "I found my home. It took a burning car, some bad guys, a really scary tunnel, and a dog who wouldn't give up. But I found it. And I think that's what Daddy wanted all along. Not just for me to find his evidence, but for me to find my way back to the people who matter." She turned to the ribbon stretched across the building's entrance. "This center is for everyone who's still looking, everyone who got lost, everyone who needs help finding their way home. Because nobody should have to do it alone. Nobody." She cut the ribbon. The crowd erupted in applause. That night, after the celebration had died down and the crowds had gone home, Lily slipped out of bed and walked to the window. The moon was full, painting the valley in silver light. Somewhere in the distance, an owl called. Bo lifted his head from his spot at the foot of her bed, watching her with patient eyes. "I can't sleep," Lily told him. The dog padded over and pressed against her legs. "I keep thinking about Daddy, about everything that happened, about how different my life is now than it was a year ago." Bo whimpered softly. "Do you think he's watching? Do you think he knows we're okay?" A knock at the door made her turn. Marcus stood in the hallway, still dressed, his face gentle in the lamplight. "Couldn't sleep either?" he asked. Lily shook her head. "Want some company?" She nodded, and he came to sit beside her on the window seat. Bo settled at their feet. "Big day," Marcus said. "Yeah, that was some speech you gave. I didn't plan it. It just came out. The best ones usually do." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the moonlight shift across the valley. "Marcus, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Before all this happened, before the car crash and the tunnels and everything, were you happy?" Marcus considered the question carefully. "No, I wasn't. I was surviving, but I wasn't living. There's a difference." "What's the difference?" "Surviving is just getting through each day, waking up, doing what needs doing, going to sleep again. Living is more. It's having people who matter, things to hope for, reasons to keep going even when it's hard." "And now, are you living now?" Marcus looked at this child, this fierce, brave, impossibly wise child who had saved his life in every way a life could be saved. "Yes," he said. "For the first time in years, I'm living." Lily leaned against his shoulder. "Good. Because you're stuck with us now. That's the rule, remember?" "I remember. Forever and ever. Forever and ever." They sat together watching the moon until Lily's eyes grew heavy and her breathing slowed. Marcus carried her to bed, tucked her in beside Bo, and stood for a moment in the doorway. This was his life now. This family he'd never expected. This home he'd never sought. This love he didn't deserve but had received anyway. He thought of Thomas Dawson, a man he'd never met but felt he knew. A man who had loved this child enough to leave her a map through the darkness. A man who had died fighting for truth and justice, and the things that mattered. "I'll take care of them," Marcus whispered into the darkness. "I promise. I'll take care of them until my last breath." And though the room was empty, except for the sleeping child and her dog, Marcus could have sworn he felt a hand on his shoulder. A presence, a blessing, a passing of the torch. 1 year later, on the anniversary of the night Lily had pulled Marcus from the burning car, the family gathered at Thomas Dawson's grave. The headstone had been replaced. The old one had been modest, all Ellie could afford at the time. The new one was granite solid and enduring, with words that Sarah had chosen. Thomas Dawson, beloved husband, father-son. He followed the truth into darkness and left a light for those who came after, 1985 to 2023. Lily knelt and placed a small bundle of wildflowers against the stone. "Hi, Daddy," she said. "I brought everyone. Grandma and Mama and Uncle Marcus and Bo. We're all here." Ellie stood back, leaning on Marcus for support. Her arthritis had gotten worse over the winter, but her spirit was stronger than ever. Sarah knelt beside her daughter, tears streaming freely down her face. She'd spent years running from this grave, from the guilt of not being here when her husband needed her most. Now she finally understood Thomas hadn't wanted her protection. He'd wanted her survival. He'd wanted her to be there for their daughter. And she was. At last, she was. "The center is doing really well," Lily continued, speaking to the headstone as if her father could hear every word. "They helped 37 families last month. Mama volunteers there on Tuesdays. She teaches English to people who are learning like she had to when she came here. She's really good at it." She glanced back at Sarah, who nodded encouragement. "Grandma's okay too. Her knees hurt sometimes, but she still makes the best pie in the county. She won a ribbon at the fair. Blue ribbon. She cried when they gave it to her, but she said it was happy crying." Lily's voice wavered. "And Uncle Marcus? He's not my uncle anymore. I started calling him something else. I hope you don't mind. He said it was okay, but I wanted to tell you too." She took a shaky breath. "I call him Papa now. Not to replace you, nobody could ever replace you, but because he takes care of me the way you would have. He reads to me at night and checks for monsters under my bed and teaches me how to throw a baseball. He loves me like I'm his own, and I love him too. Behind her, Marcus's composure finally broke. Tears ran down his weathered face as he listened to this child claim him as her father. Bo's good too. Lily added, her voice steadier now. He got a medal from the police department for exceptional bravery in the line of duty. He doesn't know what it means, but he likes wearing it. It's shiny. The dog's tail wagged at the mention of his name. I guess what I'm trying to say is, we made it, Daddy. We found each other. We built a family out of all the broken pieces, and somehow it works. It more than works. It's beautiful. She pressed her palm against the cold granite. I miss you every day, but I'm not sad anymore. Not like I used to be, because I know you're still with me. Every time I follow the compass. Every time I do the brave thing, even when I'm scared. Every time I love the people who need loving. Lily stood brushing dirt from her knees. She looked at the grave one more time, and a smile, Thomas's smile, spread across her face. Sleep well, Daddy. We've got it from here. The family walked back to the truck together, arms linked, hearts full. Bo bounded ahead, then circled back, herding them like the loyal protector he'd always been. Behind them, the sun broke through the clouds and illuminated Thomas Dawson's headstone, making the letters glow like they were written in light. A father's love, a child's courage, a family forged in fire. Some stories end with happily ever after. This one ended with something better. It ended with a beginning, because that's what love does. It doesn't erase the darkness, it transforms it. It takes the worst moments of our lives and turns them into the foundation for something beautiful. It gathers the broken pieces and creates a mosaic more stunning than anything that was whole before. A 7-year-old girl and her dog pulled a wounded officer from a burning car. Then the unthinkable happened. They became a family. And that, in a world full of tragedy and loss, and things that can never be undone, that is the greatest miracle of all. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to remember that hope is never lost. Type Amen in the comments if you believe that love can heal any wound. Like this video and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another story of courage, faith, and the unbreakable bonds of family. God bless you and yours today and always.